breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday during the Vikings season, except for next week, because the Vikings are playing on Monday night against the Chicago Bears, so our show will be on Tuesday next week. And beginning this week, we are starting our Thursday night edition of our Purple Report, except it'll be on Wednesday night this week because it's Thanksgiving week. So it'll all work out, and we'll be coming twice a week, except for the bye week next week. So it gets a little crazy with the schedule this time of year. But again, welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Fredrickson, does a fantastic job pulling our show together, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Whatever day, I'm here.
But once we get into the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, it'll be every Monday and every Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, but last night, a Sunday night national TV primetime game for the Vikings. Things looked pretty good until the final drive by the Broncos, other than the fact that the Vikings turned it over 3 times, kept Denver in the game, let Russell Wilson hang around, which is always dangerous with a guy who now has 38 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter overtime, including, unfortunately, the Sunday night game against the Vikings that the Broncos won 21-20. And Josh Dobbs, Vikings defense, played well enough to win a game, but Wilson was clutch at the end. The Broncos defense opportunistic. The Vikings turnover woes from early in the season returned, AJ, and the 5-game winning streak, unfortunately, has come to a halt.
Yeah, it was a frustrating game, I would say, last night, Jeff. I know we'll talk about it just with, how much the storylines and, Josh Dobbs coming in, kind of feeling that magic to have it, murdered in a sense at the hands of everybody's favorite opposing coach, Sean Payton, is not the fun way to have that end. I could think of better people to lose to.
Yeah, it was painful to watch his post-game press conference and see that smirk and all that. And Russell's a little more humble, shall I say, and praised the Vikings after the game, and a tough win, obviously. But yeah, Sean Payton, not our favorite guy. And the Vikings fall to 6-5 on the season, still hold a 1.5 game lead for the final NFC wildcard spot, but missed an opportunity to stay within a game and a half of the Detroit Lions. And for anybody in Viking land, including the Vikings players and coaches who were paying attention to the Lions game with the Bears on Sunday, and the Bears are sitting there with a 12-point lead with 4 minutes to go, and Matt Eberflus, I think this may be the death knell for his coaching reign, to blow that lead in Detroit, because they sat on the lead, played ultra-conservative, didn't let Justin Fields air it out at all, even though he was having some success. And also, he ran for over 100 yards in the game. And we'll certainly preview the Bears more on our Wednesday night show in advance of the Monday night game. Talk more about Chicago, who played really well until the end of that game. And again, you can lay the fault at the hands of the coaching staff for Chicago that they couldn't hold on. And there was a point where I'm sure a lot of people were thinking, well, if the Bears hang on and win and the Vikings beat the Broncos, all of a sudden the Vikings would be a half a game out of first place in the NFC North. As it turns out, they're 2.5 games out because of the way those games ended up. And the Vikings have to finish better than they did in Denver. Last 4 drives ended fumble, interception, field goal, turnover on downs. Denver finishes field goal, touchdown. The 3 turnovers were the killers for the Vikings, and especially the Alexander Madison fumble in the third quarter when the Vikings had an 8-point lead, had momentum. That was a momentum killer. And We will see that play and the other highlights courtesy of NBC, the Sunday Night Crew, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. It was an exciting game if you didn't care who won or lost, because there were a lot of big plays in the game. And so let's go to our highlights, and we'll start out with the third snap of the game for the Vikings. Doesn't get off to a great start, and this is a trick play that Kevin O'Connell calls with a direct snap to T.J. Hockenson. I think they should dump that play call in the trash because it did not work out very well.
Hockenson comes in under center and flips it to Dobbs, who runs to the edge. Gets hit hard, the ball out, and it's the hands of McMillan for Denver. The Broncos come up with a first possession turnover for the second straight game.
And that was the fifth turnover of the season on the first drive for the Vikings, which is the worst in the league, and was a big part of their problem early in the year when they were 0-3 to start. And I think the one thing with this particular play that you have to bear in mind, it should have been nullified, the recovery by Denver, because it was a helmet-to-helmet hit by Kareem Jackson, a guy who's already been suspended.
Just came off that suspension.
Just came off a 2-game suspension. He leads with his helmet. I don't know how the officials missed this call. Should have been a 15-yard penalty, which would have put the Vikings on the move on their first drive. Instead, Denver gets good field position and ends up kicking a field goal. Vikings come back and have a good drive, which is culminated by a 3rd-and-1 terrific play by Josh Dobbs. Keeps the play alive, as you'll see, and throws a touchdown pass.
3rd-and-1 to start the second. Fake to Madison. Dobbs rolling, looking for something. Kept it alive and throws for the touchdown to Oliver. What a great play by Josh Dobbs.
Again, another example of something that Kirk Cousins would not have been able to do. But perhaps Cousins' accuracy would have been helpful in this game because Dobbs was not quite as sharp with his passing. But I think a big part of that was the fact that Denver in this game, AJ, pressured Dobbs on 58% of his dropbacks. It was the NFL's 5th highest pressure rate this season. Sacked him twice, 3 tackles for loss, 10 quarterback hits on Dobbs. Not a good night for the Vikings in pass protection from their offensive line, tight ends, backs, and so forth, against a Denver team that was on a roll coming in. And you talk about the turnovers. Denver had 9 turnovers in their previous 2 wins over Kansas City and Buffalo, 2 AFC powerhouses until the Bills started to struggle. So the Vikings had to know coming into this game, you got to protect the ball, and they just didn't do a good enough job, as we saw. So the Vikings at this point are up 10-3 after the 7-3 after the Dobbs touchdown. They go up 10-3, and the Broncos have a couple more field goals before the half. 10-9 first half lead for the Vikings. They've outgained Denver significantly, have held them down on defense. But again, just couldn't keep it going in that second half, especially in the fourth quarter. But continuing our highlights, third quarter, Vikings get a good stop on the first series of the third quarter. Danielle Hunter makes a great play on a quick throw. Vikings get the stop and drive the ball down the field. A big 3rd and 13 pass interference call on Denver's best corner, Patrick Surtain. Again, Vikings, Josh Dobbs, with his legs, scores the touchdown, put the Vikings up by 8.
Dobbs taking off to the end zone. Touchdown, Josh Dobbs, doing it with his legs again.
And there's times, Jeff, where, you know, he maybe doesn't have the accuracy that Kirk Cousins would offer in certain situations, but God, it is just so fun to see the Vikings with a mobile quarterback. Because when's the last time that they had one?
It's been a while.
Maybe Tavares Jackson, but arguably Dante was the last one. It's just so fun to see a guy that is not afraid to roll out, hit some holes, make a guy miss, and just make the play work and get 6.
Right, exactly. Randall Cunningham, even in his elder years back in the day, he could move around pretty well too. But Josh Dobbs, very strong, as we've seen, by shaking off tackles, on the touchdown pass to Oliver and escaping pressure. But again, in this game, just so much pressure on him, which was part of the reason for his inaccuracy. But the Vikings at this point are holding that 8-point lead. Stop Denver. Things are looking really positive. They start driving the ball. They're in Denver territory. And I thought this was the turning point in the ball game for the Vikings, the momentum killer. When Alexander Mattison, you just cannot fumble in this situation. When you got the lead, you're driving, you're already in field goal range, which would make it a 2-score game, and he puts the ball on the ground here.
Late on the play clock. Just off in time. Mattison lost the football. Denver's got it. Recovered by Josie Jewell.
And if I can pose a question to you, I think a lot of Vikings fans would agree with me in saying this game, up until that point, was maybe the best running display we've seen from Alexander Mattison. And then the emergence of Ty Chandler, with him having to sit out a couple plays due to injury protocol and whatnot. What is stopping the Vikings for the people clamoring for RB1 Ty Chandler?
Yeah, I actually think that should definitely be the case. And looking at the play-by-play sheets today, Mattison was in for 48 offensive snaps compared to 23 for Chandler. Chandler rushes for 73 yards, which included the fake punt we're going to see shortly. But again, he was the more effective back. He's quicker, he's faster, more elusive, hangs onto the ball, better receiving back. Now, I do think Alexander Mattison is a good player, has a role on this team, and should be the number 2 back as he was behind Dalvin Cook for so many years. But I think Chandler should be the starter, change that ratio directly opposite to what it was. With Mattison got 2-to-1 snaps, I think Chandler should have 2-to-1 snaps going forward, starting on Monday night against the Bears. We'll see if Kevin O'Connell makes that change. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And so many fans that are talking about that Chandler is the best back on this team. And I really felt that he, even when before the injury that occurred to tell me again, the other number 2 back, we forget
Cam
him.
Akers.
Cam Akers. We forget so fast.
Well, with how many injuries this team has had, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Numerous
And
wide receivers,
I thought
quarterbacks.
Chandler should have had more snaps during that time. And it kind of brings us to the discussion that the injuries, I think, are showing up and showed up last night, even though the Vikings had won 5 straight before that. It's the first loss with Justin Jefferson out of the lineup. And whether he returns for the Bears Monday night game or after the bye at the Raiders, when he comes back, certainly that receiving core is just going to be so dynamic.
Yeah.
Then you think about guys like Jordan Hicks. Now he's going to be out at least 3 more games. Ivan Pace Jr. replaced him. He had some really good moments in the game, had 9 tackles, but then he was caught in coverage, which shouldn't have happened on Cortland Sutton on the last drive of the game on 4th and 3. Pace should not be in coverage. That should be a corner covering their best receiver. So I don't blame him for that. And then he almost forces the big turnover on Samaje Perine.
Yep.
On the ball that he forces the fumble and it just scoots out of bounds off of Pace. And that could have been a game saver too. So, but Jordan Hicks, I think, is missed with his leadership, with his savvy. He's the leading tackler on the team, and it's a challenge for them to make up for that. But the defense did fine until, as I said, the last drive in the game. So before we get into the rest of our highlights, into the fourth quarter, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Buick GMC, Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. There are trucks, and then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models, plus no monthly payments until 2024. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited, deferred monthly payments for 120 days, excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine, must finance with GM Financial, down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from data financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/4/23. Into the fourth quarter we go in the game. DJ Wanham having a really good year. Had a sack, his 6th of the season.
There goes one. There goes everybody else. Wilson trying to get away. Cannot do it. DJ Wanham got him.
Now, it can't be overstated how valuable Danielle Hunter has been for this team this year. But how good, as a compliment to him, has DJ Wanham been?
Yeah, he's really had an excellent season and has been getting better week by week. And I still think, and we talk about guys who are missing from the lineup, Marcus Davenport, often injured, we know that.
No kidding.
But when he was in there the 3 games, he had 2 sacks and was also very effective against the run. And if they can get him back, which is a big if, he has an ankle injury. He's on injury reserve currently, has not come back to practice yet. But if they can get him back for the stretch run, I think he could be a big addition to the team, along with Caleb Evans, who missed the game with a calf injury. I'm not a big Caleb fan, and I thought Mekhi Blackman was playing really well this year in his limited opportunities, and actually thought he should have replaced Evans. But when he got in there on Sunday against Denver, Russell Wilson picked on him, including the winning touchdown that we'll see soon. But I think Blackman may have a bigger upside. We'll see. But he kind of had a little bit of a rough night against the Broncos. So the Vikings, at this point, after the Wanham sack, another field goal by Lutz, who's 5 for 5 in this game, might have been his redemption after he doinked that field goal off the upright in London last year when he was kicking for the Saints against the Vikings. So he goes 5 for 5, and they start chipping away at the lead. Josh Dobbs throws his first interception as a Viking, and in the fourth quarter.
Take the penalty. 1st and 20. Dobbs' arm hands it through. It's intercepted. It's McMillan. 1st and goal for the Broncos at the 9. Josie Jewell brought the heat. McMillan's got his 2nd takeaway.
And we talk about Ty Chandler and the good things he does. He does need to improve a little bit on his pass protection. He had a couple plays where he did well in pass protection. On that particular play, he got beat, couldn't sustain the block, and then Dobbs gets his arm hit and causes the interception. Again, another field goal is the result. Vikings defense hanging on. It's 17-15 at this stage. Vikings get the ball, and here was kind of a shocking call by Kevin O'Connell and special teams coach Matt Daniels, where the Vikings run a fake punt in the fourth quarter from their own 31-yard line.
Marvin Mims leads the league. It's a fake, and the up back's going to take it. Ty Chandler, a big run. Chandler inside the 40. What a big dice roll by Kevin O'Connell.
That was a terrific play.
Oh, yeah.
And sets the Vikings up in Denver territory. But again, they just can't get the drive all the way through and end up having to kick a field goal. Greg Joseph, one of the silver linings in the game, he had a better game than he had against the Saints, where he missed that field goal that could have been costly, even though it was a 54-yarder. But he had a perfect game, 4 for 4, and his kickoffs were excellent in this game through the end zone in that high altitude air, which helps the kickers, of course, which is unfortunate that he couldn't get a shot at the end of the game because he might have been able to make it from 60 in that mountain air. But he did have all his kickoffs because Marvin Mims is one of the top returners in the NFL for the Broncos. Vikings, again, kicked the field goal, up 20-15. They needed to get 7 there. They only get 3. Setting up the big drive by Russell Wilson. Hadn't done a heck of a lot in this game, but always dangerous, especially when he faces the Vikings. He's 8-1 in his career against Minnesota, 7-1 in Seattle, now 1-0 in Denver. Drives the Broncos down the field, and as we mentioned before, the 4th and 3 play, a big play in the game. Ivan Pace is stuck in coverage on Cortland Sutton, which is a bad call by the Vikings coaches to have that kind of secondary coverage, linebacker covering a receiver. And then there's the out-of-bounds fumble by Pace that they can't recover.
So close.
So close, and sets up this 15-yard touchdown pass where Mekhi Blackmon, he's right in position. The ball is kind of floated by Wilson to the back of the end zone to a big target in Cortland Sutton, and here's the result.
They do. Vikings bring the heat again. Wilson throwing, it's up for grabs, it is caught for the touchdown by Sutton.
Just unfortunate. And I saw a lot of discourse saying, like, Mekhi Blackmon, he's got to try for that. I think he knows the situation well, where Cortland Sutton is a different level of human compared to him. Like, he's taller, he's stronger, he's bigger. His one opportunity is to, like, time it perfectly and literally punch the ball out of his hands and break it up.
Yeah, either that or drive him out of bounds.
That too.
Get his legs low and carry him out of bounds if you have to, so he can't get his feet down. But he's a rookie. He'll learn from that play. And it might have been helpful if Metellus had come over a little quicker to help on the coverage. So the result is the 21-20 defeat. The Vikings get the ball back. And again, the pressure is coming hard, the blitzes. And this was a game where Denver really outblitzed the blitz-happy Vikings. They had a lot of pressure through the blitz and were able to put pressure on, and the offensive line caved in at the end. Garrett Bradbury got beat badly on the play that resulted in Josh Dobbs' intentional grounding call, sets up 4th and 25, and then he kind of sails it nowhere to end the game. Even Blackmon or Dobbs was talking after the game and said there were a couple throws on that last drive that he was a little late getting to T.J. Hockenson, who only had 4 catches in the game, and Denver had come into the game not doing very well against tight ends. So that's something that I'm sure that Dobbs and O'Connell regret, not being able to get the ball more often to Hockenson, but he obviously was attracting a lot of attention, too, from Justin Simmons, an all-pro safety for Denver, too. So as we said, the result, the 5-game winning streak is over. Vikings 6-5, still in good playoff position, but coming up with a big game against the Bears this coming Monday night. And before we talk a little bit more about what happened around the NFL and a quick preview of the Bears, which we'll get into more on Wednesday night on our show, let's hear from the Buick Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models. Plus, no monthly payments until 2024. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/4/23.
And before we go around the NFL and talk about the Vikings and the Bears, let's hear from the head coach, Kevin O'Connell.
Disappointing to not try to find a way to, come away with the victory, but you got to give Denver a lot of credit. Won the turnover battle 3-0 versus us, and that's how they've been really thriving. Playing good defense, forcing turnovers, and giving their offense short fields. I thought our defense battled all night long. Holding them to just 9 points off those turnovers, even with the short fields. And then in the end, offensively, ran it well, moved the football. Could have, wanted to be able to run the football tonight going on the road, and thought the guys handled that challenge. We just, would have clearly liked to have a little bit more success down in the red zone. But in the end, we had an opportunity to move the football and give G a swing at it to win a game where we lost the turnover battle 3-0. Didn't get it done. We'll go back to work. We can, we've learned this lesson before. Playing good football teams, you can't give them 3 extra opportunities, and we'll have to continue to stress the importance of ball security, and that's what we're going to do. But
yep, back to harping on ball security and
no kidding.
no turnovers. And, absolutely. And there are also no takeaways by the defense in this game. Close on Ivan Pace. Let's hear from Josh Dobbs, his first loss after the 2 exciting victories, but I thought he still played well considering the enormous pressure from the Denver defense.
Hats off to the Broncos for pulling it out in the end. I thought we did some good things on offense. We challenged the O-line early with wanting to establish a presence up front and own the line of scrimmage, and they did a great job, especially in the first half, of allowing us to lean on them, get into a rhythm. I thought Alex and Ty did a great job running the ball downhill. We had a lot of explosive runs. Guys made some big catches down the field too as well. And we were leading up until the last 2-minute drive. Defense did a tremendous job of battling. I don't think they converted on the 3rd down all day. We gave them 2 short fields and they held them to field goals. And so as an offense, looking back at the game quickly, it came down to turnovers. We talked about it going into the week because the team that thrived off turnovers, we lost a turnover battle 3-0. And at the end of the day, it's hard in this league to go on the road and win, and it's even harder when you don't take care of the football like you're supposed to. So that's something that we can be better at on offense, because we know when we protect the football and play the way we do, we give ourselves a chance to win, and we win a lot of football games. So that's something we'll focus on this week, and we got a big division game coming next Monday, so be excited to get back to work, get back to Minnesota in front of our home fans, and put together a good game. So.
And as Kevin O'Connell said, I think one of the really bright spots in the season defensively has been the run defense. And early on, when the Eagles ran for 259 yards in week 2, it looked really awful. But since then, they have recovered. And the Vikings are now the number 7 run defense in the NFL, which is a great improvement, number 13 overall. So on that side of the ball, they're doing a lot of good things, as we said, until that final drive. And part of the problem are the injuries on defense, too. Let's hear from the defensive side from safety Cam Bynum.
The whole game, not well enough. We didn't create any turnovers. So as a defense, we take pride in taking the ball. If we don't take the ball away, it makes it harder on the rest of the team. So, and like I said, we got to finish at the end of the game and make that big play to get that stop to really win the game for us.
What happened on that play from your vantage point that Russ threw the touchdown to Sutton?
I'm not sure yet. I got to go back and watch the film. But from what I saw, he went up and made a good play. Our player was there for it to make a play on it, but he made a good play, a good catch.
Up until that point, how well did you feel about the defensive effort holding them to field goals all night?
Yeah, we did well enough to hold them to field goals, but we pride ourselves in no points. So if we're giving up points, that's still a negative for our team. It helps not giving up touchdowns, but at the end of the day, if we're giving up points regardless, if we're letting them get in field goal range, that's on us. So we got to take the ball away and get those more important stops, especially in the end of the game.
How do you wipe this one out and get ready for next one?
Get right back in the lab. We really got to just continue to work no matter the result of tonight. The season's still going. We still have a lot of football left.
Cam, Russell Wilson can basically make magic out of chaos. Mm-hmm. So when he was kind of coming at you guys, what were you guys saying to each other once he was starting to get a little bit of traction there on the floor?
We know we're capable to get stops. We got stops all game, limited the big plays for the most part, but at the end of the game, that's when we have to play our best. He played his best at the end of the game, and we got to match that and do well as a defense to not let them march down in a 2-minute drill. So as a defense, we got to fix that and come back next week even better.
So as we look around the NFL quickly, as we mentioned, that Bears collapse, Lions come back in the game in Detroit. The Packers' Jordan Love picked on the Chargers' poor pass defense, 322 yards and 2 TDs and a win. The Browns moved to a half game behind the Ravens with a big win over the Steelers. And looking ahead to Thanksgiving, and we're going to talk more on Wednesday on some of these games, but some big games with division leads on the line. Highlight games: Green Bay at Detroit, San Francisco at Seattle. The Bears come to town on Monday, and should be a great one. The Vikings beat them last time in Chicago in Week 6, 19-13, a close game. Vikings were held down on offense, and we'll see how that turns out for the Vikings. And this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and on Thursdays, and this week on Wednesday by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. This is Jeff Diamond with AJ Fredrickson. Everybody have a great early week, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.